and to form a quorum. And if Becky, if you could call roll. Thank you.
Sure. Jack Scrogstead,
Here.
Katie White, Ron Gascoigne, Reed Acree,
Here.
and Keen Hudson for quorum.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. Really don't see any public here attending. Any board members here need to make comment or anything? Okay, good. Yeah, I gave you a lot of time. All right. If everyone has a chance to look over the minutes, to the meeting minutes from August 14th, any corrections need to be made on that? If none, it'll be stand as presented. Let's start with departments, committee reports. Dave Anderson, is there anything you'd like to share from your report?
I'm not going to go into a terrible amount of detail, but we did a heck of a lot of work within a month's time.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we're not going to go into all those details. So really the only job that of substance anyway, we've really got pending is the box culvert we got going on Brooklyn Road, right there in West Brooklyn. And contractors working on that pretty steady, looking to pour the top slab and the walls sometime this week. After that gets cured, then a whole lot of other stuff can go on. And they're kind of thinking might open that up the first half of October sometime, depending on how things go and weather and so forth. So that's the main thing we've got outstanding. We got a little, some crack filling on the road job be going on this week, get that done. And anything else on here is either complete or, for example, the Rocky Ford Road job. Just got some, I've got complete there, but we got a couple punch list items, so nothing big there. Other than that, just wanted to mention, probably mention it the next couple months here, that the electronics recycling that we conduct there will be going on through probably about November 3rd, and then we'll shut her down for the winter and pick it back up in April.
All right, I've definitely taken part in that. So any questions for Dave?
I just wanted to comment, Dave,
Yeah.
that if anybody's not been down Rocky Ford Road lately, it's very nice. It was a huge improvement. So the only thing that's probably going to be a casualty there is a deer now.
Well, that's my estimation, is that we'll have some more deer hits there. In fact, it was before the job, I was driving out to stake the job out and cruising along about 45 miles an hour, looking things over, and I hit a deer at 9:30 in the morning. It's just jump right out in front.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're there. Be careful.
No, it is very nice. So thank you.
Yep.
All right. All right, any more for Dave? All right, if not, let's move to the assessor's office and GIS, Jennifer Boyd. Jennifer, would you like to share with your report and walk the committee through your board action request form that you have on the agenda?
Sure. Good morning. So as far as the assessment office goes for the last month, things are pretty status quo. We're working on the 2023 assessment work, processing the commercial work in all the townships, still have some field inspections that need to be done, working on the land values for the quadrennial townships. So pretty status quo. We've been focusing on how to work more efficiently and accurately with equity to the taxpayers. And we've had a kickoff meeting with our True Roll program, which we're really excited about, to help us with homestead tax exemption audit, a platform for that. So we're excited to get started with that. So that's kind of what we've been up to the last month. I do have a board action request on the table, and I'm actually asking to amend my budget to account for some compensation for employees. That compensation would be for employees who obtain their CIAO, Certified Illinois Assessing Officials designation. And that is a designation, that's our primary designation that most of the state statutes and our assessing office falls back on. That's kind of the foundation for equitable assessing in our office. I'm the only one that had it once Wendy left the office. Up until, I think, the last 6 months, one of the other employees did obtain it. It takes 4 core classes and 2 alternatives, so a total of 6 classes to complete. And most of those can be done online now. That's kind of new since COVID, that it's more available online. But I would like to propose being able to have compensation for those employees that complete this certification. I'm proposing $2 an hour compensation for that. And it will improve the assessment competency and promote longevity of our employees, basically. Now, I know that the county general fund is, in a sensitive place, and there's not a lot of extra money in that county general fund. So I relooked at my budget, and I believe that I can move some software items over to our GIS fund. GIS has very specific statute of what we can use our money for, but I can move some money over to the GIS fund, and then that will compensate for the money that I'm asking for in the general fund to cover the extra expenses of this compensation for my employees. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Okay, and then so like next year, it'll just be part of your budgetary, that amount.
Right. I just want to
So,
adjust
but
my
just because of-
budget.
Right,
Exactly. And I think that actually as far as the general fund goes, I'm going to move a little bit more over to GIS than what I'm asking for in the general fund for the compensation.
all right, and this CIAO.
CIAO, a lot of letters, I know.
Right, a lot of acronyms out there. So this is extra duties that your employees, according to their job description, does not include, correct? So they'd be responsible now for more stuff once they do that.
Well, the problem is they really are responsible now, but I feel like we need to be more qualified.
Correct, yes.
The township assessment work that we've taken on, which we've taken on 15 of the townships that we're doing the assessment work for. The township assessment, or the state statute says that the township assessors have to have their CIAO. So really, our office has been working under the umbrella of my CIAO, but we can work more efficiently, more equitably if more of my staff have the CIAO also, so they can work more independently, more confidently.
Well, if we can find a way to get our employees more money, that I'm all for it. So any questions for Jennifer on this?
Jennifer, so right now, your office is doing the assessment work for the townships, is that correct?
There are 15 townships where the township or the multi-township district doesn't have a township assessor because those positions are becoming increasingly hard to find and to fill. So they contract with the county to fill that position. So we have a field person who goes out and basically takes pictures and measurements, but our office is doing the assessment work.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right, well, is there a motion to move the request for this CIAO compensation to the Finance Committee for consideration?
So moved.
Mr. Acree first,
Second.
Mr. Hudson seconds. Any discussions on that? No discussions. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Carried. Okay. All right, GIS.
Yep.
For the GIS.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay. Sammy. Yes, Sammy. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Well, for the GIS department, I've been working on updating and maintaining the parcel data, land use data, zoning layers, and the 911 Flex Map for the most recent information supplied by the 911 Center. Also, the farm values have been calculated and exported to DevNet software for the quadrennial reassessment of District 4. Also, a scheduled maintenance has been carried out on the large format printer to maintain its condition and performance, including replacing the new print head, maintenance cartridge, and ink cartridges. Also been working on the new GIS Enterprise Deployment Project with CloudPoint Geospatial Company, our consultant. That includes rebuild the main portal for the ArcGIS contents and ArcGIS web applications, move some of the dashboards from the previous deployment to the new deployment, modify and validate the Python scripts used for the daily automated data publishing. That is all I have. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions for Sammy?
No.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you.
All right, County Board, Wendy, do you have anything to share with us?
I do not, Jack. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, County Clerk Nancy Peterson, would you like to share your report with the committee?
Yes, good morning. I'll just cover a few of the highlights from my report. September 5th was the first day you could start circulating your petitions. So if you don't have those, the girls have packets ready downstairs on the first floor. Also, I have hired a new person. Her name is Holly Peterson. She's starting out on the vital side of my office, and then we'll progressively move from vitals to recording, then down to elections. So if you'd like to meet my new employee, please stop by and say hi. She's been here 4 days and she's working out wonderfully.
Great.
And then just a couple of other highlights. My office does do the insurance for the county. So I just want to stress to all departments, if you can please let Penny know when you have someone that is retired or is quitting so we can get them off of the role for the county. We seem to be having quite a problem with that. So stress with that. And then I appreciate everyone that got those new beneficiary forms to Penny. There still are approximately 18 people that have not turned those in. So if you're one of them, please stop by and turn that in or email that to Penny, my insurance coordinator. Any questions?
Any questions for?
Just one quick question, Nancy. Same last name, but not related, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, I saw Peter's son. And
That is
Peter's
correct.
son.
She's SON and I'm EN, so no relation.
I was going
Thanks.
to point that out, but thank you for doing that. But, all right, thanks. Anything else for Nancy? All right. IT Department, Paul. Paul in here? He's diligently working on our Wi-Fi.
Which he did get, by the way. If anybody
Okay.
was looking for it, it's, I've got it back up and running here, so you should be good to go.
Well, Paul has his report on the agenda packet, so if you guys all have a chance to look at that, that would be great. So it's in there as what's going on there. He's got a lot of things going on. And then let's move on down to lots. Greg, you got a lot going on here too, so.
I'll just hit some of the highlights, Jack. Thank you. We recently had a visit by Congressman Darren LaHood of the 16th Congressional District on Thursday, August 31st. Had a chance to actually do a walking tour of our facility and talk about some of the most recent updates to public transportation locally, as well as some of the things that are in the hopper. Overall, a good conversation. Hopefully after this meeting, I'll be sending out a press release that actually has some additional photos of his visit, as well as just an expanded narrative of some of that discussion we had with the congressman. He was very supportive and actually said if we have any things coming up that he would be appropriate to be at, to definitely reach out to his staff to make that invitation known. On the second development bullet point, we're working currently with the U of I out of Champaign-Urbana on a feasibility study proposal to the U.S. Department of Transportation, actually specifically to the Rural and Tribal Assistance Pilot Grant Program. And we will look at, if funded, the potential use of hydrogen in public transportation vehicles. So a rather unique feasibility study, especially among rural transportation providers here in Illinois. So keeping our fingers crossed for that. We are continuing to look at additional service contract potential agreements. One of the most recent ones, and this one, if we can actually push it through with the Dixon Family YMCA, would be very similar to what we're doing with the Dixon Park District. And that's actually after school, middle school students would be transported from Reagan Middle School here in Dixon to the Y on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we have some pending agreement and also additional conversation just to be had before we actually execute that. But the one with the Park District is working out really well. In terms of the transition to the Reagan Mass Transit District, that is still in process. IDOT is finalizing the definitive agreement through their chief counsel. Hope to have a final decision or a final yes, thumbs up by the end of this month. And most recently with the Rochelle as well as the Dixon feasibility studies to look at the potential for fixed routes in both of those communities. We've now hired a senior consultant organization to actually do both of those studies. It's going to be RLS and Associates, and they will be doing both of those feasibility studies concurrently. And the thought is to actually have both of those studies done within 6 to 9 months. So we're hoping by the next June-ish to be complete with both of those feasibility studies. Again, just looking at the potential for developing fixed routes in both Rochelle as well as Dixon. Last piece I have is on the second page. So the back page of that first page is some of the most recent ride data that we have for July and August. For that 2-month period, we provided roughly 14,300 rides, service hours, 4,077 miles of service, 113,000 in fuel costs for the 2-month period, $45,629. That is all I have for my report.
All right, great. Any questions for Greg? Just want to comment, you helping out or going with the YMCA agreement. You guys are busy. And I think this is like awesome stuff that you guys are doing. Expanding yourself out to helping out, getting people where they need to go. So I just think that's awesome. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Jack.
All right, Chris, ROE, you would like to share with your report, walk us through, and explain a little more on that Officials Act report that you had on the agenda.
Sure. Thanks for having me here this morning. The Official Reports Act, I am required by statute to report to all 3 county boards every year, kind of an annual report on the things that we've gotten done at our office. And I figure rather than me coming and talking to all boards and for 15 minutes and boring everyone, it would be easier to put it in this form. And that's what that is. I send it out quarterly, and obviously we just finished up the last quarter of the past year. So that ended in June, end of June of 23. So those are just our official acts. I did notice there's some things I have to clean up on the report, like the digital newsletters published, and we no longer test for paraprofessionals in our office. The state has taken that over, and there's certain places that you have to go now to take your test. So there'll be a couple categories that I'll be removing from there next year, but unless the county board suggests a different format, this will be the one I continue to use just for those basic figures. Any questions about the report official acts?
Nope, I don't have any.
Moving on to my monthly report, it's that time of year again when we're getting fired up with our building inspections. As a matter of fact, there's 3 of us in the office that are certified to do these inspections. Myself, the Assistant Superintendent, Josh Knuth, and our Lee County employee, Michelle Hopp, who helps run Health, Life, and Safety. Matter of fact, Josh and Michelle are in Erie today going through all of their buildings with the fire marshal. It's important that we get these done as quickly as possible in the beginning of the year because we want to make sure the buildings are safe for the educators and for the students and families. So we're working hard on those. We're also winding up a lot of the building permits that were out for the summer, getting construction done. When those projects are done, in order for the students and staff to be able to go back into those areas of the schools, we have to walk through and do occupancy checks and then issue an occupancy permit. So Josh and I have been pretty busy with those, but it's important work, and it's nice to see all the new facilities and updated facilities that have been built over the summer for our students in the 3 counties. Professional development, just a couple of updates. We were proud for our office to start a letters cohort, and that is the new program, Language Essentials for Teaching and Reading and Spelling for Early Childhood and Elementary Teachers. It's a new program that I think is going to do wonderful things. And it was great when we were able to bring it here to our office. It's going to be a year-long training. And we have 84 teachers and administrators that do work at the elementary level in this training and going to learn a bunch of different new ways to work with reading and spelling for our young students. So excited about that. Also did want to highlight on a couple things we got done right before school. We had a couple of back to school events, and if you look in the report, we had just over 1,000 backpacks with school supplies that were supplied to families of our 3 counties that were in need. And a couple of events that we hosted. It was just great to see how many people we had lined up at our new facility to get the stuff they needed for their kids for the school year. A couple other things I wanted to highlight in the report. I know in the professional development report, it said we had a behavioral threat assessment team training at SAUC on August 3rd. That is put on by myself since I am a trainer for behavioral threat assessment teams. Schools are required to have their teams trained and ready to go at the beginning of the year. And then they're required to send to my office and to the local police department a copy of their procedures along with the members of their team. So we're getting that squared away with all the districts, and they're ready to go to make sure that if they have any concerns this year, they'll have a team of trained people that can kind of work to look at the student that they may have some concerns about and determine whether or not that student needs some additional supports or help. Nexus and Truancy are off to another great start of the year. I think it's going to be a busy year for us. We've merged those 2 departments, as I said, into one. And we were having trouble getting people to apply to be truancy officers. I do like that our new team has kind of renamed that department to the Student Attendance Support Division, and we no longer call them truancy officers. They're Student Attendance Support Specialists. And I'm happy to say we did get a number of applicants once we reposted, and we're now fully staffed in all 3 counties and ready to go, helping our families and helping our students make sure that they can get the services they need and get to school. A couple other things I just wanted to hit really quick. I know it was a big deal having Beth Hubbard retire for us after all those years in the education outreach program, but our new coordinator, Rhiannon Seibel, has just jumped in and is doing a great job. She's got a new logo for her department. She's hired a new teacher who's retired from Dixon, Jill Marciniak, who is now helping our students with their getting their high school diplomas. We've got 3 this month already that will be testing soon to get their high school diploma, and we just had 7 new intakes. So I'm excited that program's picking up right where we left off. And then, of course, we're off to another great year with our alternative school. We've already got 42 students in our options program, 14 in our RSSP program, which is for students that have been expelled due to discipline issues. So we're at 56 students, and we have a number of intakes scheduled for this week and next week that we're getting referrals on students. So just excited to be off and running with another year. Happy to take any questions about our report.
Very good. Very good. Any questions for Chris? All righty. Thank you, Chris, and for all you do for our kids. Alice, would you like to share your report with the committee and walk us through the 3 discussion items you have on the agenda?
Sure. Good morning. This month, we have no action items going to or from the Planning Commission or to and from the Zoning Board of Appeals. This month, the Zoning Board moved to continue the hearing on petition 23P1616 by Wiggins Solar LLC due to a scheduling issue this month by the petitioner. We agreed to continue this hearing until October 11th at 7 p.m. Additionally, we had an appeals that was also supposed to take place on September 7th. That was also continued by agreement to allow the parties more time to prepare for this hearing. We have been notified by Shady Oaks Wind 2 LLC. They have remobilized their contractors to the project site to energize the substation and circuits. The turbine supplier will be mobilized when the substation is energized to start energizing the turbines. We anticipate the commercial operation date for this project to be on or before October 31st, 2023. Petitioner Crawford One Solar and Crawford 1A Solar. I have reached out to the zoning office about acquiring building permits, so we are in the process of working with them to get to that point. Additionally, a third-party engineer from Chastain and Associates has been deployed to the GSG Wind Repower project site. We are receiving weekly status updates, and a copy of that report has been attached to your packet just for you to kind of see what we are receiving. Additionally, the zoning office will be closed on September 20th and 21st this month. Dee is out of the office on vacation, and I will be attending a renewable energy seminar that will start the evening of the 20th and continue on through the 21st. Lastly, we have the discussion of Agricultural Area Conservation and Protection Act. I was recently contacted by our local Farm Bureau about these ag areas, and essentially this is a tool that landowners can take advantage of to place their land into a protected district, often called an ag area, with the approval of the local county board. This is the state statute indicates that ag areas help protect landowners from local ordinance that might otherwise interfere with normal farming activities. It is a way for landowners to voluntarily place their land into this conservation district for the purpose of preserving that land strictly for farming. Such consolidation can help reduce the fragmentation of farmland and farming activities that result when the surrounding area is increasingly devoted to non-farmland uses. Ag areas can also prevent or delay the conversion of farmland to other land uses. Farmers often cite less tangible and more personal reasons for enrolling land into an ag area than those specified in the state statute, such as family farming histories that they wish to keep intact. And while it is possible to achieve any or all of these benefits without creating an ag area, the ag area designation is an important public declaration that the county and the landowner feel agriculture is important to the community and is still a viable industry in that area. So this will require the involvement of the county board. A county board has to approve an application for an ag area. So between now and next month, I'm going to be working with Wendy Ryerson to establish a plan for people that wish to utilize ag area in Lee County, so that Lee County is prepared for these type of applications. Any questions?
Alice, I'll just add a quick comment to that. Alice and I have already discussed this and are making, as she said, plans to present back to you next month the process and how what this would look like based on the statutory guidelines. But I think I wanted to point out that this has been in place actually since the late 80s. Alice is shaking her head, yes?
Correct. Actually, it was implemented back in, looks like 1980. It says since 1980, landowners in Illinois have had a tool available to them that can help preserve farmland for at least 10 years. And that is referring to this Agricultural Areas Conservation and Protection Act.
So that was since the early 80s. And what, if you can imagine what was going on for those of you who were involved in land sales in the early 80s, in particular in the Chicago suburbs, there was a lot of agricultural land that was being purchased for subdivision and development. And this was a tool at that time that was developed to, kind of protect, as Alice said, some of those areas. It's come to light most recently for another reason, and that is the landowners that maybe potentially want to protect their agricultural land from renewable energy projects specific to the new state standard, which, again, limits your ability as a county to essentially restrict, if that's really not the word I wanted to use, but for lack of a better term right now, this is something that is coming to the forefront now as potentially a tool. As Alice said, it is possible for landowners to do the very same thing without going through this process, but going through this process is a public statement of the benefit of agriculture in specifically to our situation in Lee County.
Well, that was a question running around in my head, you know, as she started explaining, and I was reading a little bit of this last night. And I was going to reach out to her before, but while we're talking about it, but isn't it the landowner's decision to grant people to use the solar land? So it's like, why do you need this act? You know, the landlord said, no, I don't want you to put it, I'm going to continue to farm. You can just say no.
Yeah, ultimately, it is the landowner's decision. And if you had the opportunity to read the statute on that, you'll see that there's a very specific process that a landowner would have to go through to protect their land in this way. And when they do it, they set up that protection for specific periods of time. The first chunk of time is 10 years, and then it goes down to 8 years. And so, yeah, they could do that by just simply saying, no, thank you. But they also could use this process to make that very public statement that, you know, I want to protect my agricultural land.
Without dragging this conversation on any longer, but you've got landowner A who gets this protection, and he gets this protection, and then he decides to sell the land to B. Now B has it, and he has to follow that act.
So to be honest with you, I'm not sure whether that carries from a purchase, but I believe that it does, actually. I believe it does, because it's a 10-year period. The first go-around is a 10-year period, so.
All right. Anyways, like I said, that's a conversation and, you know, or education personally with me rather than talking about it out loud. All right.
And as Alice said, more to follow next month. We'll be back.
Okay. All right.
It would probably give some protections for certain cases that may be some eminent domain type things that could come up in green energy. Or
I don't have a legal answer as to whether this would override eminent domain, and I don't know if Charlie's had an opportunity to take a look at any of that, but.
I have not, but I think the simple answer would be to that. I think the eminent domain would still be on the table.
In talking with the Farm Bureau, they agreed that this would not be a protection from eminent domain.
All right. Any other questions for Alice? All right. No unfinished business, no new business, no executive sessions. Is there a motion to adjourn?
so move.
Second.
First by Acree, second by Hudson. Any debate on that? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.